can't hear anything. The sound's gone.
You win.
Oh, there we go.
Is it back now? Is it meant? Alright,
Yeah,
cool.
it's back now. Sorry
Don't know
about
what that. That's alright. Don't know what that was as well. Anyways, I'll cut it out. Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Danny Batten Fight Show. This is episode number 36. Talking last night's UFC 252 from Vegas, I think it was. But another good show. And this show is available as usual to video version, youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation, as well as be up on Facebook later. But if you want to watch it first, you watch it on YouTube. And audio versions available at all the usual radio and podcasting apps and platforms, the links to which are all in the description. Joining me to talk about some MMA and particularly UFC. First of all, I have former Cage Warriors champion, UK MMA legend, Mr. Danny Batten is back in the UK. Welcome,
yes,
my friend.
Feet back on familiar soils. It's good to be back. I just want to get back into routine. I want to get back training and lose my beer belly that I've gained over these last few weeks.
The last six months of lockdown, it feels like.
Yeah.
6 years of lockdown. And we're thrilled to welcome back Cage Warriors lightweight champion. He's brought the belt as well, which I love. Mr. Mason Jones, welcome, mate. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back on again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. Of course, you've got a big fight lined up in September. Could be
6 weeks.
two belts coming up. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I get the job done. More than doable, and I feel good. I just come back from Belfast yesterday, so I was up there training with Reese McGee. Reese trained with Norman Park and someone else I forgot about. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice to get away for a few days and get up there and enjoy myself a bit, and just nice to step away from the gym and obviously do something a bit different mid camp. So back to it now. Finish off the camp and more than ready to go already.
Yeah, because me and you were just talking then before we started. Like only two other people have in Cage Warriors history have held two belts at the same time. Danny, do you know who those two people are?
Well, hold two belts.
Two belts
Conor
in Cage Warriors.
Conor McGregor was one of them.
Yeah.
And who's
UFC
the other
commentator. One? UFC commentator.
Dan Hardy.
Dan Hardy.
Yeah.
There you go. Fountain of knowledge.
Yeah.
But that's pretty good. Pretty good company, mate. Gotta say. But you know, it'd be interesting. Those Cage Warriors shows, mine in September, are really looking good. 3 days of just top fights. I know Oban's got a fight as well, so nice bit of Welsh contingent on there as well.
Well, is Aaron Khalid's on as well?
Yeah.
Ben Ellis is going to be on the card as well.
Awesome.
Have you seen Ben Ellis' last knockout on Cage?
I haven't, no.
Mm-hmm.
He was in mount, head down, posted out, and threw a short hook and knocked the guy out cold with a short hook from mount without posting out. So weirdest knockout I've ever seen. He just clipped him, and it looked as if like he wouldn't really do much with him, and all of a sudden then knocked him out and finished him off. Like
Game over.
Game over.
Madness. I might see if I can pull that up now. I'm really looking forward to those Cage Warriors shows. Obviously, the last Cage Warriors show was when you picked up the belt just before lockdown. That was a good show, mine mate. I gotta say that was a really enjoyable show. Yeah. And little did we know that going into that, it was going to be like months and months of craziness of lockdown and stuff. Luckily, MMA came back pretty soon.
Because what's it been? It's been, that was the end of March. So what's 4 months?
4 or 5 months, isn't it?
3, 4, yeah. Yeah.
Feels like years, mate. I gotta say.
March is the 3rd and it's the 8th. So yeah. Oh shit.
Crazy times. You are so. I'm going to show you this now because this is quite insane. Bear with me 2 seconds now.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, go on, mate. Go on.
Dan, did the COVID stuff affect obviously your camp with Modescus much?
Yeah, it's obviously a little bit more tricky, but the good situation we have is that Modesta's dad's built a gym in their backyard, which is ample enough to fit a good few bodies in there and work out a proper camp. So we got some of our heavy guys, and we'd go down there predominantly to do his training. That way, we sort of like it's under our own sort of risk, but we all got ourselves tested beforehand, obviously, because we didn't want to.
Mate, we did right through, to be honest. I had 2 weeks off, and then me and one of my coaches were kicking, and we just isolated away from not so much my family, but my family isolated away from everyone else, and none of them really left the house. I was food shop for most of them. We stayed away from everyone else. Like, at the end of the day, it's a job you've got to carry on with. You can't just stop it. I know they didn't want us training, but there's only so much you can do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. We just couldn't do nothing in regards to being in the gym because we was going to put our business at risk at the end of the day, and we didn't want to. We didn't want to take any risks in that way. So we got round it. We was quite lucky. We were just fortunate that he has the situation that he does regards his home. And, we got some good training in still.
Awesome.
Right, have a look at this then, lads. Ready? He says... So I'm going to bring this up. This was Ben Ellis's knockout from Cage Warriors. So you should be able to see that. Can you see that, Dan?
Yeah, I got it.
So they're not really doing anything. It just seems so weird, mate, doesn't it? They're like, he's just on top of him, and then all of a sudden,
Ben's a scary guy.
Jesus Christ.
And, he's one of them people. He's such a nice guy, right? You'll talk to him, you don't understand. And then when he becomes a fight, he's so nasty. And I don't even in the cage. I'm aggressive in the cage. I mean, when he was, I remember one of his fights in Cardiff. I was making a walk to go down. His opponent was in front of him, and he was just shouting stuff his opponent in front of him, trying to fight his opponent in the corridor to have to walk out. And I think that Tanny the same as me is you never have any sort of anger towards your opponents. They just in the way. It's, you know what I mean? There's just someone else to sort of play the game with and do. But he's horrible. And he's the nicest guy ever. So that was crazy to see. Crazy knockout.
Yeah, that was brutal. It looked like it was going nowhere. And it just all of a sudden, he just kind of whoop.
Yeah. Well, he trains down with Matt Academy with Lou Long. Aaron knows, so he's got a good gym there. He's been doing a bit with us now coming up, and sort of he's been helping me out a little bit with camp. Just there's another body to train with. We've getting some bigger boys in a lot. Been training a lot with wilder weights, but sort of he's been doing a bit of pads and stuff in the gym with our Thai coach and mixing in and different things, and he's looking awesome. So it'll be good to see his next one.
Awesome, yeah. So what you're telling me is you can get Ben Ellis to come on here for us as well, then, is it?
Mate, ask him. He's game as well. He's same as me. He'd love to come on, I think. So obviously I'll drop a message after this and I'll give him a shout out. But he's gent, and he's the same as all of us. I mean, he's obsessed with sport and he's always watching and always learning. So brilliant guy to get on. Him or Aaron's the same.
Yeah, definitely, mate. We had Lewis come on a couple of times actually. He came on one of the times when Danny couldn't make it, and then he came on again with Danny.
He's mental. Louis mental.
Top bloke, isn't he?
He's absolutely bananas. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Another thing, Dan, we talked about last week was Michael Chandler was obviously finished up his Bellator contract with a big win, which went against what Bellator wanted. I think they wanted the other guy to win, but. I was interested.
Ben Henderson, he fought.
Henderson won it,
First round.
And the thing is, with Chandler, straight away he was talking about Conor McGregor and UFC, and I think he's talked himself into something because Dana White said that he's interested in speaking to him at least. Whether he'll get the Conor McGregor fight straight off the bat, I doubt. But what do you reckon, Danny?
Well, yeah, I'd love to see him go over to UFC's. He's not a young man. We talk about age a lot recently. He's not the youngest man, but he's clearly still got plenty of ability. He's got a great style to create exciting fights. And there's a few really interesting matchups I'd like to see how he'd get on with some of the UFC guys. Bring him in. Let's get him matched up. And I'd love to see him against Conor McGregor. I said quite clearly last week, I think that would be a particularly good match. I do think he's got the wrestling capabilities to smother Conor McGregor, but stylistically he won't do that. He'll stand and bang and use that takedown ability as a secondary thing, but he won't be scared to bang with Conor McGregor, which to me I think would be a mistake. But I think he's all about creating a lively performance rather than getting a boring win against his
Yeah.
record. He'd rather lose an exciting fight than win a boring one.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it'd be good for the UFC.
Chandler
Yeah.
didn't do that. He was in UFC before, though, wasn't he? Chandler.
Yeah,
He
early in
back
his
along.
career, wasn't
Very early on, yeah.
didn't do very well at all. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see him against some of the UFC guys, and obviously how he gets on with that.
he? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's improved a lot, like, since then, I gotta say. Like I said last week, Dan, I didn't think, like, whilst I kind of like the idea of the fight from a stylistic point of view, I think Connor's, like, on a different level to him, personally. I might be
Yeah.
wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but, like, I just feel like Connor's, like, especially if he tries to stand and bang with Connor, I feel like Connor would probably knock him out fairly quickly. But,
Yeah.
you know, what do I know?
Yeah. I mean, if I was going to put my money on any one winner, I'd say Connor would win. And quite simple for the fact, you remember I was saying last week that, I've met Chandler, and he's smaller than the stats suggest. This guy could easily fight featherweight, easily. But I think he's got a little bit of little man syndrome and wants to keep himself as stocky as possible. This guy's not very tall. I think he's on his stats. It says 5'8". I'll be surprised if he's 5'8". I'm anything between. Yeah, he's really tiny. I'm anything between 5'9", 5'10". I used to be 5'10", but maybe shrinking a bit over the course of my age. Yeah, and but yeah, he's considerably shorter than me, and I'm like, there's no way he's 5'8".
Yeah.
No way.
No, and obviously I fight lightweight, and like I'm never ever the taller guy. Do you know what I mean? I think I've been taller in one of my fights. All the rest that they've always been taller than me. So yeah, that is short. I am surprised with that.
Yeah.
I tell everyone I'm 5'10". I am not 5'10". I'm probably about 5'8" to the push. But there we go. Small man syndrome. It is. That's what it is. Just constantly lie about my height.
Trainers on, you'll be 5'10".
Yeah. Just get some big trainers with some big souls and be fine.
Yeah, 6 foot in my trainers, huh?
Yeah.
Push you up high enough. Do you know what I mean? Boots.
Get a nice set of Air Max with a big air cushion.
Yeah,
That's the ones. Do you mean? All big set of boots, big sole on them. There we go. Push you right over the edge.
Yeah.
Or if you don't mind your cross dressing, put a set of heels on. You'll easily make over 6 foot.
Hey, it's impressive if you
Stilettos.
wear heels for long periods of time. I think I'd struggle with my toes, but yeah, quickly.
That's it, innit? So, just before we go into the card from last night, the other thing they announced it last night, was the UFC 253 main event. Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa for the middleweight title. That has got the potential to be a very, very interesting fight for me. I think
Costa
that could
all
be
the way.
real good.
Yeah, I agree. I want Costa to do it. Yeah.
He's
Like,
a bad
Adesanya-
man, mate. I really, really like him.
Yeah, Adesanya's really like being disrespectful about him. Yeah, critical of his game, and yeah, he's not to be underestimated by any stretch. I think he's going to come with a good game plan, and I think he's likely to implement it well, and create that win. I'm hoping so anyway. I quite often find I go with my heart rather than my head, but I'm a big fan of his style. I really like his style. He's a go and get your style, and I want for those sort of people to win.
But you know what, right? What I find interesting about Israel Adesanya is everyone loved him, and then ever since he started chasing the John Jones fight, he's become more of like outspoken towards other fighters, but in a more disrespectful way. Whereas where before that, he was kind of like the guy who was like, he would come out and he would be joking around with the media and all this sort of stuff. And ever since he's been chasing that John Jones fight, I've noticed a change in attitude, and I think it's rubbing maybe fans and fighters and people just up generally, rubbing him up a bit the wrong way, like, because he was a massive fan favourite when he burst on the scene.
Have you listened to the Colby Covington thing where he said about how UFC refused to sign him before he went to Brazil, and then he kicked the fuss that he did in Brazil, and then they offered him a new contract with more money because of the fuss he kicked off Brazil. So it wouldn't surprise me if the whole thing with Adesanya was more to do with obviously when he was being noisy and doing what he did, and like he started with the sort of over the top walkouts and the dance routine and stuff like that. So it's just UFC, because like I remind a lot of boys in the gym this all the time. Like one of the biggest combat sports, well, one of the biggest sports, I guess much call it combat sport in the US especially, is WWE. Like there's still so much more money in it than there is in UFC, and
Billions.
Bellator's done it as well. They brought the sort of theatrics to it a bit more. That UFC, they do encourage like the shit talking, the drama, the sort of the back and forth, that anything that keeps it relevant. Like it's one of the reasons they like Conor so much, because like the whole thing with the dolly, where he threw a dolly at the side of the bus and was trying to fight Khabib. Like 1 minute they're banning it, and then 2 minutes they're using the dolly footage as
to build up a fight, mate. No.
Yeah. So
well, all that stuff which happened after the fight with Conor and Khabib's teams, that was because they didn't draw a line. The company didn't draw a line under it. They used it in the build-up. They used it in the promos, and all that did is keep reminding all those people who were involved in the disagreements. It just kept reminding them of why they hated each other. So it was always going to go off I got to say,
don't let much go. You've mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot of the Soviets don't.
Well, mate, I got to say, that's what I don't think they'll do the rematch for various reasons. But one of the reasons I think they won't do the rematch is because I don't think they can guarantee that it won't happen again. Something similar, like them all just end up brawling, because they're both sides thinks they're in the right. If you know what I mean, I forgot his name. The guy who's gone to bare knuckle boxing, who's
BKB,
Conor's mate. What's his name? Conor's mate.
What's his name?
The hammer.
Artem
Lobov, yeah. He
Lobov,
it really started with them all surrounding him, didn't it? And then it kind of went on from there, and it's stupid, but
UFC, even though they are at the same time trying to get away from the fights and the stuff like that, they want it more professionally run. Still, that hit more headlines than
sells fights,
the main
mate,
event. Man. But you've got to remember, they're still a company that's all about profit at the end of the day.
Of course,
it's as a product, the whole Khabib versus McGregor 2 would easily be the biggest event to date. Bigger
massive,
than DC and Stipe, bigger than the Adesanya and Costa card. It pulls in so many casuals, and I said this before, to appeal to hardcore UFC fans, all you have to do is turn up, train, and be a good fighter, and you'll appeal to the hardcore ones. But it's a lot harder to appeal to the casuals, because they've all this stupid understanding in their head, and they like the flashy stuff. They like all the sort of the rich man stuff, the
shit talking,
and they're the ones who buy the t-shirts. I'm not going to go on to Reebok and buy a $70 t-shirt with bloody McGregor up the back and wear that.
Yeah.
But some of the casuals are, and that is the audience you want to appeal to. So, I myself am not a shit talker. I think I'd be absolutely terrible at shit talking. I wouldn't know where to start. And I see it as disrespectful. But you have to find your own niche, and you have to sort of market yourself as a product.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And the fact is, if say, I don't know, pick a fighter, just pick any fighter at the lower end of the UFC. If they'd done some of the stuff which Conor McGregor's done over the last 5, 10, 6 years, they'd have been fired yesterday. But the fact is, Conor McGregor brings so much money into the UFC. He changed the game for him. That unless he does something that he cannot come back from, they're always going to probably. I think I say always. I'm sure there is a line, but it's a different line to everyone else, mate, isn't it? You know. But then I look at guys like you got yourself, Mason. You got Modestus, Jack Shaw. 3 up and coming fighters who look like they could go and dominate their respective divisions and go on to the biggest stages, none of which are massively outspoken in shit talking, but have all got quite a big following already for their skills, their abilities, their personalities and that. So maybe, I think there is a way still to get over with the casual fans without resorting to that stuff, but it's harder, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, the other thing as well, mind that if you try doing the whole talking shit things, people just compare you to McGregor now. That's not the way about things. It's fine, like I said, finding your own niche, your own way about it, and if Modestus keeps knocking people out with those weird elbows of his, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'd be right, wouldn't he?
But it's just, that's all you got to do. You got to be an exciting fighter, and not so much be able to back it up. You just have to be charismatic. You have to product manage yourself well. And out of every fighter, Conor McGregor is the best at product management. He's out of all of them. You can, especially this is it was Fury when Fury was fighting Wilder. remember he was over in the States asking random people if they knew who Deontay Wilder was, and normal people on the streets didn't
Didn't
understand.
have a clue.
Like, Wilder was massive at the States, so like, whereas if you went and asked people if you know who that McGregor is, they know straight away.
Yeah.
Like, loads, everyone knows. I don't think you really find people unless they're over a certain age that wouldn't know. So like, that is product management right there. Do you know what I mean? Like, your brand is out there and on the top of everyone's head, and he's tied so closely with the UFC.
Oh yeah, 100%. Right, let's get into the UFC from last night. Oh, that's what. Sorry, before we do that, sorry, I was going to say. I got distracted by all that stuff. Paulo Costa. I was just looking at some of the guys he's beaten, and he beat Yoel Romero by decision, Uriah Hall via TKO, Johnny Hendricks via TKO, Gareth McClellan by TKO, a couple of other guys. Like, he's on a tear. Let's be fair. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-0, 13-0. Sorry. He's very, very impressive. My one concern with him is I look at those people he's fought, and I don't really see anyone who sticks out as being anywhere near that, like, Adesanya's kind of level. That's not to say that Costa cannot go and beat him, but in any way, because he's clearly talented. But I wonder whether he should have whether he should have had another fight with maybe someone kind of in between. But, you know, I mean, Yoel Romero, he beat him via unanimous decision. That's a big name. But you know, Adesanya's been on a tear himself. Dan, what do you think about that from me, mate? Really, what, like, my opinion?
I absolutely agree with you. What can I say? You kind of said it all with that, really. To be honest. But yeah, I mean, I know you always criticise yourself, saying, "Hey, what do I know?" and that. But you know, I think you've got enough interest in it, and you've been around it enough to adopt a fairly solid opinion and go with the flow with most people. You know.
Yeah, I spend my life speaking to fighters, mate. I suppose there's one thing in this. But no, I think I'm just gonna have a look. What do you think about that, Mace? Do you think like he should maybe have taken one more fight before the title fight, or do you think if you get that title shot, you take it, and regardless?
Well, win or not, he put his name out there, and people know who Costa is. Do you mean? So he's still young. If he loses this fight, he can always come back. Losing isn't the end of the world. It never is. And that's why I think people need to get out their head. Like, being undefeated is a magnificent thing, but it's only if you wear it as a crown, and you sort of accept it. You don't sort of let it drag you down and weigh you down. And obviously Costa's legit. He's on a tear. He's just some good legit wins, and I think this is a good step up for him. I think it's a high level step up, but I don't think it's anything out of the blue, because when you get to the top 10, anyone in the top 10 can beat anyone in the top 10. Like, it all depends on circumstance, situationals, and how it goes. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at Mike Bisping. When he won the title, no one would have ever predicted he was going to win it. And then
he stepped in, did he, last minute to replace someone, didn't he? Well, I was just saying that. I say everything which I just said. Adesanya's last fight was against Romero, which he won via decision. So they both beat Romero via decision. So when you compare that, you know, maybe, you know, he's got every right to be there. And I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve a title shot in any way. I was just looking.
It was good breakdown, actually. I was really analytical, and you really explained yourself. So it's good. Really good.
Good. I'll have that belt now, thank you. Right, now come on. Let's get into last night. UFC 252. It was a very, very interesting show. We're going to stick to the main card, really. I want to touch on one or two things from the prelims. What was the women's match on the prelims? Felice Herrig. What an armbar, mate. That was, it was a beautiful finish.
Clean.
But, you know, I think a lot of people expected Felice Herrig to win that. And
she was dominated.
Yeah, she really, really did. She got pasted, as the words were. But my favourite fight of the prelims, Danny, I think you'll agree, being the grapple fanatic that you are, was Jim Miller versus Vince Pichel. What a bout that was, mate. Real good.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I believe it
Miller
was.
is
Yeah.
lightweight.
Yeah.
Check that now.
I think it was lightweight.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know whether Jim Miller gone up or not, because like obviously he's a veteran. Beyond
Yeah. He's been around a long time. I'm sure this one.
I think it was lightweight. Wasn't it?
Yeah, surely he's not big enough to start going up to the welterweights. Could be wrong, but definitely wouldn't be big enough. I wouldn't think.
No.
Well, yeah. I like it. I do like Vince Pichel though. I gotta say, I really like it. I like his attitude, and I like his work was real impressive. What did you think, Dan, of that fight though? Because I know you love it, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I love all aspects. You know, it's not just the groundwork. I just have a nice, I really do have a healthy appreciation of people who can adapt their ground ability for MMA, because it is different in terms of its principles. And I think we saw some good examples of some bad principles of the groundwork that actually got people in trouble. And that is, don't risk going to your back, even if you're on the back. If you go to someone's back and they turn over, you're potentially putting yourself on your back, and if they turn, you're going to get yourself in trouble with throwing away the round or getting ground and pounded. And we saw this, and so with Jim Miller's got lovely grappling, but some of the principles were not solid in terms of the MMA, and it got him in trouble. He had a great first round, got Pichel in real trouble with that nasty knee lock position. It really was nasty. He even got hold of the tip of the toes, so not just put pressure on the calf and the knee structurally, but also turning an angle on the knee as well. But Pichel didn't flinch at it.
Dan, do you think he went looking after the first round and looking so dangerous? Do you think he went looking for that leg too much later on in the fight? Almost like he was like looking for it instead of other things.
He was looking for the leg because that's all he had, because he put himself on his back. So when you get yourself on your back, that's how I saw it. I don't think he was hunting for it because he felt that was the go-to. He just shouldn't have been on his back. Miller's good when he's on top. He's got pretty good wrestling. He's a savvy ground guy, but he let his jiu-jitsu, in terms of just jiu-jitsu, get the better of him, and he was on the back, put himself to his back, and then ended up underneath in that second round and that third round. And Pichel did great in that top position. He wasn't scared to match Miller on the ground when he had top position. And he actually looked more effective than Miller did when Miller had the top positions, partly because of those main principles. Miller just fell off the back too many times. And it just made bad decisions. And I think this is what lost him the fight. If you have a look in that round two, he was winning that round two. And I think he'd won the first round. I think he could have won that second. But he allowed him to get the foot on the hips. He didn't need to. It just allowed him to kick up and escape that position. Then he ended up getting put on his back. He made some bad errors, but that can happen when you're fatiguing. And the thing is, when you're getting older like Miller, man, you start getting tired from 2 minutes in from the first round. You're always trying to think under a set of fatigue thoughts, and you go back to how you train. If he trains a lot of ground orientated systems without the aspects of the MMA striking, you can go into these bad habits. And it looked like he went into some bad habits with his choice of back control and putting himself on his back. And I just felt like Miller really could have won that second round and then try to play it safe for the third. But maybe he was trying to chase the win too much and try to take that back to try and get the choke or something. I don't know. I just felt like it was his decisions what let him down in this fight overall.
So, do you think it was his decision making more than Vince Pichel improving as the fight went on?
Look, at the end of the day, look, if someone's making a mistake, it's for your skill set to be aware of that and take advantage of that. If you don't know they're making a mistake, you're not going to expose it. So, of course, Pichel did well. For me, Jim Miller just made, to me, a principle type error and allowed Pichel basically off the hook. Like I say, in that second round, he could have really nailed and had Pichel two rounds down. But he broke away. He tried to be over-aggressive in that top position. He tried to stand right up rather than put the pressure on for, say, a half guard up against the fence. He tried to rain down with two-handed strikes and expose his hips to be propped by the feet. And Pichel got the kick-off. And then that led to Miller being taken down by Pichel. And Pichel started to see that there was an error in Miller's cage work. He was leaving his feet way too close together, and he just kept pulling his feet and hips away from the fence. And so, of course, Pichel chased that for the third round, took the third round off Miller as well. I love Miller, I really do, but I can't help but think that he gave an easier route for Pichel to take the win off him. And I really think he should have been going into that third round 2 rounds up rather than a round apiece, with Pichel being the younger, fitter, stronger man. And I just felt like he started getting a beat behind physically. And Pichel was fantastic. I don't want to make it sound that
like it was all Jim Miller's weakness,
weaknesses, because like I say, it's all about being aware of what the weaknesses is and exposing them. I think Pichel did great at exposing some errors in Miller's game. To me, it wasn't Miller, the best Miller that I've seen.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm a big fan of Vince Pichel. I really like his attitude and his work.
Yeah, he's got a big future ahead of him, without doubt. I totally agree with that.
And Mace, did you catch any of this one? I know you didn't catch all the...
No, I missed this one, but obviously Miller's an old head, like we talked about, he's a vet, so but then that comes with this positives and negatives. Obviously certain people just have got mistakes that are hardwired into them, and I think Danny really went in detail on the mistakes he was making. Like I said, there's nothing really I can say on top of that.
Spot on. And then the first fight of the main card was a fight.
Really?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to that one. John Dodson versus Davishvili. Did it live up to the hype, though, in your eyes? Mace, you go first for this one.
Well, I don't know. Obviously, I rate Dodson. He's just come in off a win against Nathaniel Wood in his last fight. David, I can't even say his name. Davishvili. Obviously, he's got an unbelievable corner. He's got probably one of the best corners in the game. But yeah, I seen the highlights of this fight. I seen obviously the different exchanges. Davishvili controlling most of the fight. Every round pretty much. And then I've seen also the last round where they decided to scream at each other at the first 10 seconds, which was weird. But like Dodson's always been the same. He's sort of very fast the way he strikes out, and they're both very fast in their feet. But then Davishvili just seemed to be all over him and control him quite well.
What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I had Dobson to win this one. I thought he was going to be just too tricky and too quick. But Davishvili, what can you say? I mean, he performed really well in his previous fight, and you can see he's got marked improvements. He managed to impose his bigger size. You can see there's a physical difference there. But not only has he got the bigger physical size, his cardio was incredible, as we know Dobson's is. But Dodson was unable to express his potential fitness because he got smothered by Davishvili. He got wrestled, he got out-wrestled, he's getting outworked, and he looked a little lost in there, a little frustrated. Did you hear what he said after
frustrated.
At the end of that first round, he said to his corner, "Hey, look, he just held me." And the commentators picked up on it. No, he didn't just hold you. He held you and controlled you and kneed the hell out of the back of your thighs. Now, although it might not have deadened his legs in anywhere and was not consequential in the overall fight, he lost that round big, and it gave confidence to Davishvili. So, of course, Davishvili come out wanting to engage that wrestling. No, he's got a potential advantage there, and he did. Now, Dobson did impress me, but only on the defensive part of things, and that was that he was getting taken down, but scrambling up so quick, Davishvili was unable to make any kind of groundwork issue against Dobson. But he was defending and having to counter it. Only defensively, he was unable to counter it in terms of getting some aggression off himself. There was a couple of times when he looked quite sharp with his hands, but again, he got shut down by Davishvili. Davishvili's wrestling was just too much. His physicality was just too much. His cardio was too much. And I just feel like Dobson's been around a long, long time, and he doesn't fight with that spark, the desire to win enough. Instead of trying to win that first round, he just tried to convince himself that all he was done was being held. Hey, you've got to be honest with yourself, and your cornermen have got to be honest. If you go back to your corner after a round like that, I'll be saying, hey, sort yourself out. Get it sorted, get working, get to work. And I've just felt like his work ethic wasn't there. It really surprised me and disappointed me, Dobson, because I know he's better than that. And you've got to perhaps wonder how much love he has for the sport with that kind of performance, because he wasn't breathing hard come the end of the fight. And when you're not breathing hard at the end of the fight, of a 3-round fight at that level,
you haven't pushed hard enough of him.
Yeah, you've definitely, absolutely not. Now, I want my opponents to obviously come back feeling fresh, but not fresh because they haven't worked hard enough. I want to come back fresh because they can recover quickly. He didn't have to recover from any kind of work ethic in that fight. He was just doing a great job of defending what Develeshi was doing to him, but that means you're on the receiving end, and the receiving end means that you're losing. And Mason was absolutely right. He lost all 3 rounds. But look, Develeshi's he's on a tear, and I think he's ready to take on practically anyone. He just looks like he's the complete package right now.
Yeah. And building on what you said, Dan, like obviously MMA, I always like referred to as it is mental chess. And when you get outplayed in such a way that they're literally removing you from the game to the point where you cannot do anything, then you can't be getting frustrated saying, look, he's not fighting me. The best example I got that is Bellator when saw him back his last fight. I remember the guy's name. He fought Teddy Brazier. Went in down in this moulding for 3 rounds. And Teddy Brazier stood at the end and said, you didn't come to fight. And it's like, well, no, of course you didn't come to fight. You come in to beat you. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Why would you get into a fight where you exchange and it's 50-50 if you could just win the fight without taking an impact?
Yeah. No, exactly right. Yeah. What can he do? As far as I'm concerned, Dobson had a great win previously. A bit disappointing in this one, but we can't take nothing away from Develeshi. I just want to see this guy progress up and start taking on some serious guns in that weight division now.
That's it. Do you think that's up to his corner though? When he's come out and he's kind of come out with that sort of, whether you want to call it attitude or lack of morale, or I don't know what you want to describe it as. I mean, John Dodson's experienced guy, isn't he? But it's down to his corner, isn't it, then, to shake him out of it in that moment, because it is what it is, and it doesn't look great. I got to say that from an attitude point of view.
Yeah.
God, sorry, Dan. I'm excited.
No, you're all right. Just while we have a little break in there, I just encourage you all to visit awaydayapparel.co.uk. They are a clothing brand based in Cardiff, Caerphilly, and they're doing some great things with some clothing. They're growing all the time. They were recently featured in up-and-coming band the Skinner Brothers' new music video for their single Away Days, among other things, including some charity work and some new products coming soon. They're revitalising the casual scene, including bringing back some old classics from back in the day for us older folk. So I encourage you to check them out, and if you use the code AA Podcast Nation, you get 10% off all orders. And we thank them for sponsoring the show as usual. Next up, we had Herbert Burns versus Daniel Pineda. This didn't go as I thought it was going to go, I gotta say. Go on then, Dan, you take this one first, mate.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the round, it was looking good for Burns. But I was saying about people trying to do too much BJJ and forget the difference that it's MMA. He managed to shoot in on Pineda and get on his back in terms of being in a stood position, and then tried to seat him backwards. And it nearly got him in complete trouble. He nearly got turned in on, but only for the fact that it was so early in the round, he managed to recover from it. Had that been in the second round doing a decision like that, he would have been thrown around by being on his back and being on the receiving end. But very quickly after that, when Burns got taken down, he just looked lost to scramble. He was putting way too much effort in trying to look for a submission, rather than trying to scramble back up and trying to put back pressure from a stood or more neutral position. It just got him in trouble. Just too much conventional jiu-jitsu for me. Without the awareness of actually that he's in an MMA fight where you can actually get hit, and he just started throwing away around. I thought it wasn't what I thought I was going to see. I think
no, at all.
Same for you guys, but I think it was partly that it all went wrong from there on for me. He was, I think I ran about the 250-minute mark, something like that. Just trying to throw up triangles and omoplatas. I mean, this is not what you should be doing.
I thought when he was on his back, Burns, it was weird. Like, he looked helpless. He just
flighty,
just didn't get going at all.
He looked like he got stuck, and especially if finished the way he did, where he's sort of like in a side control position where he had the arm pinned as well. For someone in that high level jiu-jitsu to get stuck in that position for the time he did, and when they're raining elbows down, it was just it was surprising me, because obviously the Burns name with Gilbert and Herbert, they're renowned for being being really good all rounders. And like I said, he just looked really rushed. He looked off the pace, and he just didn't look like they had a good enough game plan. Like obviously, I know Gilbert Burns. We've had conversations with him, and my team's had conversations with him, and they're usually a really good gym with the fact they always have good game plans. They always do good breakdowns. But it literally just looked like Herbert just had a really bad night.
Yeah. What do you make of the finishing I don't know, finishing sequence? Yeah, Dan.
I mean, going back to what I'm trying to say, Jiu-Jitsu definitely has its part in MMA with your evolution for your skill set, don't get me wrong. But we saw a classic difference here. When Pineda got top position, he was doing everything that should be done in principle for MMA. Strip away the arms, so that you haven't got defense and you haven't got an escape option, and start trying to get what we call them checkmate positions. Once you've taken away the arms from a side control situation like he did, and then raining down elbows, the ref's got to step in to stop the fight because he's not got no intelligent defense. It was really good. Burns had a bad night, but likewise, you've got to know someone's making a mistake to capitalise on the mistake, and Pineda did exactly that. So he was utterly impressive. Burns was not so impressive. I was really disappointed, and I was as shocked as you guys were. I thought I was going to see a very different Burns. He lost because he made bad decisions, and 100%. Pineda won because he capitalised with good decisions. And what can you say?
What do you make of Pineda's performance, Mace?
Yeah, like I said, he went in there, he dominated thoroughly, and I just think he had a really good game plan for everything he did. Everything that happened, I know there was a lot of scrambles that didn't go Burns' way, and like you said, he made a lot of mistakes that didn't go his way. But he fought a really good fight, and against high-level opposition. I know the two of them, I don't even think they either are ranked, do they? Are they ranked? Burns ranked?
Was he ranked? I don't think
they were, but obviously that just shows how in-depth the UFC is, because he's such a well-known name, and he is a very legit contender. So it was a perfect performance, to be honest.
Yes, you couldn't have been much better, mate. I don't think. And Pineda can go and take that now. Real confidence from that performance. It's a big name, the Burns name, like you said, and to dominate so thoroughly, he can take that into his next fight, and hopefully, from his point of view, he's going to try and look for someone, another big name to further his
agenda.
Yeah, and that's what it is. But that's what it is, isn't it? Every fighter has got their own agenda. They all want to, you all want to get up, where you want to achieve your goals. You want to.
Or on the belt.
Yeah, that's it. Or two. Next up, we had Junior Dos Santos getting absolutely spanked
by Rosenstrike
for the second fight in a row as well. Junior Dos Santos did not look great, I gotta say.
Yeah. I think he's on the sort of retirement front. I think he's going.
We were saying that last week, if you remember. We were talking about this one, and we both said that we felt that Rosenstrike was the one to win it. I wasn't. I can't say I was actually disappointed in Junior Dos Santos' performance initially up until the end. I thought he was doing a good game plan, not over trading. He was trying to do ones and twos. He was trying to stay more elusive. But I can't help but think his chin's slightly gone. And against someone like Rosenstruck, man, if he rocks you in the slightest way, man, he's going to go balls out for the finish.
There's so much power in those.
Yeah, Rosenstruck, man, he's the real deal. He is the real deal. I'm really impressed with his striking, his decision making, his power, his size, his attitude. Yeah, this guy is there, and he's real. He's real.
100%.
I was just looking then to see if Herbert Burns is ranked. He's not in the featherweight division, but that featherweight division it's
a serious division.
Just insane, mate. This is ridiculous. Yeah. I was just going to have a look, and isn't Rosenstrike coming off a loss as well?
Did he lose his
fight? I think he was before this fight. Yeah.
So
who did he lose to? So I'm falling behind with
Ngannou, I think. No, it wasn't Ngannou, was it? Who was it? Oh, it's going to bug me. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, it wasn't Ngannou. Is it? Oh no, Ngannou. Right, no, sorry. The Ngannou fight got called off. I thought he was scheduled to fight him. UFC, where are we? But I got to say, Junior Dos Santos, I agree with exactly with what you said. I think that his chin's gone.
Yeah.
And I've thought that, I think, probably about 3 years ago. And that's no disrespect to him. Look, over the years, been a fantastic fighter. He's a big boy, very talented. Age catches up with everyone. There's no way around it. Your body changes. So you might have the technical know-how to do things at the same level, but your body just doesn't or isn't able to perform at that level. So Rosenstruck, he lost in 20 seconds to Ngannou on May the 9th.
Yeah.
But before that, he beat Overeem and a few others. But it was important for him to really push, show what he could, show that, because there's been some fighters recently where they've been on a bit of a tear, and then they've had their first loss, or they've lost their streak, and they've kind of not recovered. So it is important, isn't it, if you lose, to make sure you come back for it. Junior Dos Santos, what's next for him? Do you think he's pretty much
retirement?
Yeah, unless he wants to be like a gatekeeper, sort of like to be at that level that up and coming fighters fight against. Yeah.
Do you think if you're going to be a gatekeeper, don't you think you need to be able to? How can I say this without sounding like a complete dick? Like, you need to be able to take, the whole point of a gatekeeper is to be give the new guys or the up and coming guys a real tough fight.
Cowboy's a perfect example of someone of that type of caliber person.
Sure.
Journeyman.
Yeah, but
a world-class journeyman, but a journeyman.
Oh, he is definitely,
Yeah.
It's still someone you would never.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
So I do wonder about Dos Santos, where he goes from here. Like I said, I can't remember if it was you, Dan, or it was someone else. I was discussing his chin with someone else, and it feels like it was about 6 months ago. But he's lost recently. He's lost to Curtis Blades, I think, Ngannou. Don't get me wrong, none of those names are embarrassing to lose to, but
still losing.
Yeah, he's still on this bit of a tear of losing fights.
UFC are the type of people as well that then you can sometimes, even if you're winning, they can just decide to cut you. So you're never safe, even if you're up there and you're a known name. Sometimes they can just cut you off, depending on their agenda and how they feel. But definitely needs to pull something out the bag, I think.
So his last win was in March last year. So well over a year since his last win. That was against Derek Lewis via TKO. Since then, though, he's lost to Ngannou in 1 minute and 10 seconds. No shame in that, I gotta say. Curtis Blades in 1 minute of the second round. Then Rosenstruck last night. Before that, he was on a 3-fight win streak, though, before those 3 fights.
Yeah.
So he's kind of gone 3 wins and then 3 losses.
Yeah.
It is what it is, I suppose. He's fought some big names over the years, and there's no doubt the talent's there. So he could easily get it together, but I do wonder about his his age and whatnot. Next up, we had the fight. I was so looking forward to this fight. I was proper hyped up for this. Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. We talked it up last week where everyone who was interested in MMA was ready for this. And
I was gutted.
Yeah, even the first couple of minutes though, it didn't disappoint. It was yes, here we go. Just it was just getting ready to sort of go into the next gear. And Sean O'Malley had issues with his foot again. He seemed to
leg kick as well.
Yeah, he took a leg kick, and then just after that, then he kind of went over on his ankle and his toes, and it didn't look nice. I gotta say, I'd be interested to know what his injury was.
To be fair, I think Vera, the way he kicks as well, it wouldn't surprise me if he just literally caught the nerve or something that deadened his leg, and then obviously the way he was struggling on that leg and the way he got stopped. Some people are saying it's nearly finish, but then I just think
he wasn't defending himself.
Was out. Right? You know what I mean? He couldn't. As soon as his mobility was gone, he didn't really have anything to fall back on. I think that's something he needs to look in on, because at the end of the day, with UFC, you have to be able to overcome injuries in a fight. I understand it could have been a rolled ankle, it could have been a broken foot, it could be anything. But like one of the best examples is Josh Emmett from Team Alpha Male. Like he won his fight with a torn ACL in the entire fight.
Yeah.
And he blew his leg and still fought through. And it's just something like obviously Daniel tell you it's something like to be a fighter you have to do all the work. You also got to have heart, and it just looked as if he hurt his ankle and just give up, so to speak.
It was weird though, wasn't it? Because in his last fight he had an issue with his foot, which was caused from I think leg kicks that time. But he fought through it, he fought around his injury that time, mentally, and it was only really after the fight that he kind of really was limping around on it, and you could see that he had a massive problem with it. But with this, like straight away, you could see that he was struggling with it. Straight away, you could see it was troubling him. He was stretchered off afterwards, and I said to you guys before we started recording, like the second the fight was over, he started screaming in agony, and I couldn't work out whether that was like emotion of obviously it's the first time he's ever lost. Was it that, or was it the adrenaline and the trying to pretend to his opponent that he's not hurt? Was it that, or was it like a combination of both? What did you make of it, Dan?
Well, I look back at the point that he started stumbling and started backtracking, and it all stemmed from that outside leg kick, and it landed on the outside of the knee. Now I've been kicked on the outside of the knee, and it made a nerve twang right down to my foot, and I felt like I had no ability to. Yeah, in my foot, it was like when you got been sleeping on your arm, and you wake up and you look at your hand, but you can't move it. That started happening to my foot. It was against Augusta Frota. Now, what I did was, I tried to disguise it, and I just clinched up with, or he clinched up with me, and I was just happy to try and recover my foot.
Just hold on.
And, yeah. And it just worked out well for me. But his situation was different. It happened where the guy was, still wanting to strike him. So I really think it was the signals down to his foot after being kicked on the side of the knee. It damaged a nerve, and he couldn't recover the foot. So even if he did break his foot, I think that broken foot happened because he was, misstepping thereafter. He folded down on his toes. It just looked like a nerve issue to me. Yeah, and in which case, that's all part and parcel of the sport. And that makes it a legit loss. It isn't that something gave way. And like Mason Jones, true warriors have a diverse skill set and can fall on other aspects. He did try to, in terms of trying to come forward with his hands, but he stepped too much weight on each foot as he come forward.
Smart answer is there.
Yeah, if I was him, I would have tried to play possum and try to play counter strike.
Yeah, same as me.
Because he tried to chase down, and when you're already in a limp, it's going to become even more obvious that your leg's blowing out, and you're going to make a potential to stumble, and exactly what we saw. Whereas if you play possum, you're a little bit more static. You're not having to use your footwork.
Draw them onto your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. But he just didn't do any of that, and so he become lost. And this comes down to how you train in the gym as well. He probably trains the same way, and he fights the same way because he's had nothing but success doing it, and he had no backup plan. So lesson learned. He's learning on the job, so to speak. Hopefully adapt and change and come up with other strategies to help him get through such situation had they arise again. I'm disappointed as much as you guys because I was enjoying his unbeaten run. Such an exciting fighter. But yeah, once he got hurt, he looked really vulnerable.
Do you think Vera felt disrespected that everyone thought that O'Malley was going to walk through him? All the talk was about O'Malley, and judging by his reaction after the fight, I feel like, I'm guessing, like I obviously haven't spoken to him, I don't know what he feels, but by his body language and that, it seemed like he felt disrespected, as if everyone just assumed he was just there to make up the numbers, and he felt like he made a point. Maybe
you can't feel like that, this day and age, like we said with the casuals earlier, and like the way fans look at things, like it's just all part of the parcel, and you're better off just laughing those stuff off and sort of like, rather than get offended by things, it's just sort of like take it and be like, look, like what do you
use
think
it as an opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, like there's no point ever being offended by anything that happens. Like obviously we talked about earlier the McGregor thing with all the insult instead. He said Habib, like you just literally just punched the absolute Smoke. I was trying to think of a better word to use. Smoke out of someone for so many rounds and then give an absolute pasting and drag him through hell. Like, you don't need to get offended after that. And like, obviously, Vera had some good shots before they stopped that fight against O'Malley. Whether it was an early finish or not, I think he was done. You got some good shots in. Like, just let it go. Focus on what's next.
Yeah, Mace, if you don't mind, I'd like, would you like what you said to us off air about your theory or your observation around O'Malley's foot injury, because I find that it's quite an interesting talking point. Like,
so my outfit on your thing is, I think some people cut too much weight. Obviously, he's very tall, he's very lean, and just lean structures seem to just pick up a lot of niggles all the time. Like, I know a lot of people struggle with like rib injuries, and obviously they have less intercostal muscles providing support to their ribs. They get a lot of pop ribs, and they get the joints, like the ankles, the shins. Obviously, I know shins are a joint, but the same sort of aspect. The wrists and hands, they seem to pick up a lot more injuries. Like, you've got long levers, and they're not padded that well. Like, usually you sort of pick up injuries. Like, you sort of see a lot of like lighter guys, and a lot of like the long lighter guys seem to have more of an injury rate than you see the bigger guys or like middleweights or ones who padded.
Yeah.
So I just see it as he's cutting too much weight. I don't think his diet sounds as if it's too well. A bit too much weed for me, but yeah, it seems as if like if you're struggling from the same injury twice, it's either something underlying or you're doing something really.
Something's aggravating, isn't it?
Well, it's just something wrong there.
Yeah, it's interesting. What do you make of that, Dan? Do you think that's like a...
It can definitely be part of the equation. At the end of the day, if you are a big weight cutter, your body's going to be in some form of deficit. And Mason's absolutely right. It's going to weaken something of your body. And also, with the weight cut, if you do a heavy weight cut in terms of your salt bath and your sauna to make weight, you'll rehydrate your body within the 24 hours, but it takes something like 4 days to rehydrate your brain fully. So that's why sometimes you see these flash knockouts. It don't look like a shot lands completely solid, but when your body's been through a harsh dehydration process, it can get you knocked out so easy. So this could be part of the equation. And he is tall and lean. He is big at the division. So is that part of the equation? Only really he and his camp know that. It'd be interesting to see what comes out over the next couple of days on what's exactly happened and what they feel has happened.
Yeah.
Spot on. And then to finish us off, we have the main event. And it was Daniel Cormier looking about as lean as I have ever seen him. I thought he looked in great shape. Versus Stipe Miocic, the trilogy fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. It did not go to plan for Daniel Cormier, although he looked
I was gutted
in spots. And he's announced his retirement as well afterwards. He said he's done. I felt sorry for him because that eye poke looked nasty, which he had, and he went to hospital because he couldn't see in his eye. Which I'm going to ask you something about that, Dan, in a minute. But what did you make of this fight, Mace?
Yeah, obviously I was gutted. Like, I don't know. I never used to like DC for a long time. I was always in the Jones corner, and then I really want to see him do well. Yeah, like I really want to see him win now and come back. But I was just getting like Stipe was just too much for him. Obviously, the eye poke made a massive difference, and it's something that the ref missed out on. And I know Mark got that per tweet up just apologising, saying that obviously they can't see everything, and it's understandable. And it's like sometimes they are going to miss critical things. But then what would have happened if they had stopped there? They would have asked him if he can carry on. He would have taken the time, and he would have said yes, and then he still wouldn't have been able to see. Like, it's their career-changing point. What would have happened? Like, at the worst, they would have taken a point off Stipe, and he still would have gone off. You still would have stopped them. Well, not stopped, but he still would have done more than enough to get that decision. Like, I think one of the refs scored it. What was it? 49, 46?
46, yeah.
So even a minus point, it would have still been way too much. But yeah, I just got into DC. Like, he put his heart on the line. He's really nice. He seems like a really nice person, and just didn't seem to leave a cut. But he's obviously still gonna be on a long time. He's got other things to fall back on, and he'll just have to start another chapter of his life.
Yeah, he's an exceptional pundit. Actually, he's really, really good in the commentary position. I really enjoy his stuff. I wanted to ask you, Dan, obviously as a coach yourself, he told his camp that he couldn't see out one of his eyes. And I saw a couple of people on social media saying they should have stopped it, blah blah blah. Now to me, it's like heavyweight championship with match, heavyweight championship of the world. It's his biggest fight. It's his trilogy fight with Stipe. It's likely to be his retirement fight, unless he's in serious trouble, from a health, health wise, like his life's in danger. I don't think they should be stopping it. But do you think they didn't really acknowledge it very much, the coaches? Do you think they could have done more to help him?
No.
Or do you think it's worse?
No, I mean, it's for the coaches and the fighter to decide in the corner on whether it's a good thing to go. If your fighter's saying, "Hey, look, I can't see, I don't want to carry," first thing I say, do you want to carry on? We can get through this if you want to. And if he says, "Hey, look, I don't want to risk my eyesight, the sport ain't worth it to me," I'll be like, "Let's call it." But
surely someone like that isn't going to be fighting for a heavyweight.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, it was unfortunate. Do I think it changed the outcome of the fight? No, I don't think it would have made a difference. Cormier
didn't help him, did it? But it
didn't help. But Cormier, he's quite adaptive. I think he's got the skill set to get round issues, and he did. For me, I just wished I'd see Cormier mix his wrestling up a little bit more, not in the terms of the clinch, but in terms of the actual shoot and entry. If you think that he had the one shoot, one takedown in the first round, you never saw another shoot, and that kind of had me scratching my head a little bit. He got
if you're half blind, like just get
especially so,
range and then shoot.
Yeah, but you didn't see him shoot enough, and he definitely showed less cardio capability than any other time I've seen him fight. And this is due to his age. He's not a young man anymore. So we did see a more of a reserved-paced DC, and we also saw a more reserved-paced Stipe. Stipe did it for a pure strategy that he knows he's long and tall and rangy, and had to try to score long. And when it did clinch up, he was clearly trying to keep control of the wrist to stop the counter-striking that DC's so good with. So great game plan by Stipe and his camp. It absolutely worked, and it worked wonders. But on the flip side of that, for DC, didn't have the cardio to push a different game plan. And, I think you saw him get success in the first round with that shoot, and maybe the cardio just didn't allow him to feel he had that secondary shoot in the rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. It just wasn't there for him. Retirement, absolutely right for him to retire now. Otherwise, he loses his legacy. I think right now with DC leaving the sport as he has done, this is great. He's always going to be one of the best fighters we've ever come across, or certainly from my perspective. I love listening to his commentating. He's got another career to fall back on after his fight career. So the good thing is for us that we're going to still get great commentating. And the people who train with him are going to get great coaching, because he definitely knows this sport very, very well.
Yeah, I hate to see it when you see fighters, they just go a bit too long. I think pushed it a bit too much, and I never understand why. Like, I understand the money's fantastic, it must be hard to get out there, but then on the other side of it, I thought Bisping should have retired before he fought for his world title and won his world title. So there's that. You know what I mean? But obviously, that's one of the things. The only reason I brought him up is because obviously he was winning with one eye, and I understand he's obviously had more time to accumulate to it. But there's ways around things, and like as a fighter, I'm big on it in my training. Like, because eye pokes happen. I got poked in the eye today in sparring, and I like whenever it happens, rather than stop and sort of whinge about it, I do try and get people to push on and sort of try to deal with stuff like that, because it is going to happen in a fight, and the rest are always going to see it. And these things, it's like, as an old school thing, I remember from my kickboxing days, like kicking people in the cup. Like, I know in a lot of the kickboxing days, against good kickers, they used to kick people as hard as they could in the cup, just to stop them kicking properly. And it's like stuff like this, and like obviously Danny be able to tell you, people like headbutting you in clinches, or people trying to drag fingers down your eyes, or bloody anything like this. Like, it's not a nice side of the sport, but it's part of the sport as well. And like, things are going to happen, you know what I mean? Gloves are going to go in eyes, and fingers are going to go in eyes, and they're things you have to deal with. And you can't really be like, look, I can't see, that's the reason the fight went this way, because it's not. You always got to have a game, you got to have a backup plan to a backup plan. And like Danny said, he could have, there's things he could have done. He could have closed range, he could have tried changing the whole style of the fight. Like, personally, I would have changed it into a wrestling fight, because if he just literally non-stop shoots and taken shots on the way in, but just gone balls to the wall and literally had that attitude. It's my last fight. I prefer to get knocked out than go to a decision and lose the decision. Then I think that's a better attitude to have. Like something that, especially moving into your last fight, because I don't think that was the thing. Because he went through all the press conferences, basically stated this was his last fight, and that sort of, I mentioned that to my coach. I don't think that's a good thing to do. Like, you should never go into a fight with a mindset, this is definitely my last fight. This is going to be the last thing I'm done. Because you go in there with a mindset of, I'm going to put everything on the line. Then when it comes down to it, you just don't have that drive. You're not in your career anymore. And whether he liked it or not, I think he did sort of take the easy way out.
Yeah, Joe, what I absolutely agree with what you said there. I think, DC looked like he was just trying to get through the fight rather than to win the fight. And I think a younger, more hungry DC that was still looking at the longevity of a total career would have been shooting in, trying to steal back those rounds and trying to push for the win. The fact that we saw him take the easy way out of just staying standing, I know it sounds quite critical, but with Mason saying it, give me extra confidence to say it. But yeah, it did look like he was just trying to just get through the fight, get to the end of the fight. Okay, he was kind of headhunting with that cross hand. That's what we've seen be successful with DC before. But that takes a whole lot more less energy than shooting in does. DC's an amazing wrestler. If you think about it, body composition wise, DC's 5'11". You got Stipe at 6'4". Why didn't he just push for the single and the crutch going into double and make Stipe constantly have to pull him up and pull that low center of gravity up?
Start lifting him through.
DC, DC's like a wrecking ball. He's got a real low center of gravity. He's compact. He would have pushed the pace on Stipe, and then Stipe's hands would have dropped on those breaks when it was pushed back out to strike it, and then DC's striking his overhands would have been much more consequential. But Stipe received the cross hands really, really well because he held good form because he wasn't physically tired. But that's how I saw it. I thought it was there for DC to still win, but to win you've got to have desire to do so, and you've got to push through to adversity, and the adversity wasn't there for him.
Yeah, I thought he should have retired after his initial loss to Stipe. I felt like that was the right time. Or even, well, that's it, Mason. It's money. But the fact is, like, the UFC as well, is they need the big names, don't they? They don't want Conor to fight at the moment because they want the fans in this stadium or whatever. So they need the big fights. I don't necessarily think that Daniel Cormier is motivated by money. I'm not saying that, but money helps, doesn't it? If you're like on the fence about, have I had enough? Am I going to retire? And then they come and say, you have the trilogy fight, here's a couple of million. Kind of makes your decision for you, particularly when you've got a family, you've got kids and stuff like that. Because it's, people forget sometimes when all this money is bandied about, you forget how much money it actually is. Like that, the amount of money which he's made from fighting sets his kids up for life, doesn't it? Sends them to college and all this stuff.
DC would be a plenty wealthy enough guy by now. I don't think the reason for him fighting was money.
He's literally got an assistant following him around. Like if you're not loaded, you haven't got an assistant following him around.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So I don't think he needs to worry on that side of things. But it was just sort of, I think they're off. It was sort of like Uriah's last two fights when I spoke to him about it. And he basically said he didn't have anything to lose. He had he'd already built his legacy. He already had a lot going, and they're offering him $500K minimum, dreaming to go in there and do what he loves doing and what he does as a hobby anyway. So he just took it as something that he can use, and it's just extra capital to pump into his businesses. But DC's a lot further on the spectrum. I just think he's just sort of like that decision to retire, because it's been his entire life. It's such a massive decision to make, and he kept putting it off. And then I think, like I said, after that loss against Stipe, I think he should have retired then. But to be honest with you, I think he should have retired after beating Stipe for 2 belts. I think
that was the perfect way to go out, don't it?
Just retire, do you know what I mean? And like, I understand after that the purses would be bigger. They persuade you back in. Look, come across, we'll give you double the money. Do you know what I mean? Oh, look at all this, and it's like you can defend. You beat him once, you can beat him again. It's like, well, it's all kind of good, but sometimes it's better just to take it and go out on top. Forget
But
about
look,
everything
yeah,
else.
yeah, we're talking about DC a lot, but let's think about it. You know,
Stipe was
is
exceptional, wasn't he?
yeah, he's creating a legacy of his own right, and you know, I really like the guy. I like his fighting style. He definitely had a game plan that he implemented really, really well, and that to me goes to show a legit champion. He knew how to lessen the effect of DC's potential successes. He shut him down. He did it ever so well. Although I'm saying, hey, DC should have done this, should have done that. It would have made harder work for Stipe. Stipe had a game plan, and DC had no counter game plan. And I poke or no I poke, to me, it made no difference to what the potential result was going to be with the way DC was choosing to fight this fight. So Stipe, man, well done. Yeah, who's going to be challenging him next? Maybe that Rosenstruck. You know, I think that'd be a good fight.
I think Ngannou's got to be in line for a title shot soon.
Well, Jones is making noise about it as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
going back up a weight.
I had a notification on my phone just now saying that Jones and Ngannou have been going back and forth a little bit. So that would be an interesting fight, I got to say, decide.
I think Jones would, sorry, I get excited. I think Jones would crush Ngannou. I really do.
Yeah.
I think Ngannou is really two-dimensional. I know, again, talking to Burns once, he said Ngannou being a scary guy, but he just really doesn't like doing jiu-jitsu. So, like, you can't neglect 50% of a fight, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jones's fight IQ is exceptional as well. Like he's not stupid enough to try and go toe to toe with Ngannou. Like he's not gonna stand in the pocket and try and go blow for blow with him. He'll take him down. He'll use his kicks, whatever it may be, and he's got the all-round game, haven't he, to do that, to trouble him in other ways. But I got to say, I think Ngannou deserves a title shot. So, here's where it is.
Yeah.
I do think, before we change topics, I do think that Jones is sort of close to the end of his expiry date as well. I don't think close could be a sort of the period of thing, but after his last fight, it didn't look like the traditional Jones. He looked a bit kind of bit off. Whether that's going to show whether that was just an early sort of flag or whether that was just a bad performance day. I just think that he needs to start sort of being a bit more careful with his matchmaking and sort of making some smart decisions, because I think you would see him start to decline now. Obviously, he's been in there a long time. He's pushing along now, obviously, with a long periods of bans. But I'd be interested to see him fight Stipe or fight Ngannou for the belt. After the belt, fight Ngannou before the fight for the belt. But whatever comes.
Yeah. When you're saying about Jones, I do feel that his last performance, although they're still pretty dominant, they're dominant just enough. You feel that he could put fighters away, but doesn't want to have to bust a nut to do so. It's like a long distance runner that just ain't chasing the world records. He'll get ahead and do enough just to stay ahead. Yeah, he's not willing to do the grind to get the fastest time. So he hasn't got the grind to really want to push himself to get an emphatic win. He's just coasting each round, and you've got to wonder, what kind of mindset is making him choose to do that.
So, judging by what Dana says, Ngannou's going to get a title shot. Maybe John Jones will fight the winner. Maybe, but in your eyes, do you think Stipe or Ngannou would win that?
Me or Dan?
Both of you. Both of you.
Do you want to go first, Dan, or me?
Now you go first, mate. Let's see what you got.
I really do think Stipe would murder him. Ngannou just seems to be a sort of one-trick pony for me. I think his gas tank isn't very well. He's not very intelligent. He's just got a dangerous striking. He doesn't ever knock people out clinically. It's always just overwhelming power. And I just think that it's like riding a bike with one wheel. It's all kind of good and it looks good, but you're not going to win a race with it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, my money would potentially be on Stipe, really. I'd say probably 75% Stipe and 25% Ngannou. Just really because he is such a powerful, dangerous dude. If Stipe plays it too long with the hands or on the feet at the right type of range, for Ngannou, he's going to have a difficult time, and it only takes one punch to end it at that weight division. We've seen this time and time again. But if Stipe plays smart and uses his full spectrum of skill set and make it a technical issue, it's on him to win every time. But he's got to play it right still.
Yeah, 100%. And Ngannou is, he's a beast. Let's make no mistake. And if he nails you, you stay nailed. But I think more intelligent and skilled fighters should be able to negate that, shouldn't they?
You got to do it the right way, though.
Yeah. Okay, so this is final question of the evening before we close up. Next week is UFC Fight Night. Pedro Munhoz versus Frankie Edgar. Who have you got, Danny?
Munhoz. I just think Edgar's another person being around. This is at a lower weight as well, isn't it?
It is at bantamweight.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone can pull it out of the bag, Edgar can, because he's another fighter that I've really enjoyed watching over the years. But it's another person that, to me, is just pushing it on too long and coming down a weight as well. Yeah, he's up against people who are going to be really, really quick. And so now what has been his advantage is not going to be an advantage. I think he's going to struggle.
Okay. What about you, Mace? Who you got?
I just think Munoz is so underrated. Such an underrated fighter. Like, if you look at the people he beat, obviously he knocked out Garbrandt. He beat Brett Johns, as well as multiple other people, and I think he is a top of the tree fighter, and he's someone no going to overlook. Edgar's a tricky customer, and he was one of the, he was one of the old school generation goats. But I don't know. I just think Pedro's going to be getting better, and Edgar's going to be getting worse the way it goes.
Yeah.
But you never know. Do you know what I mean? This is the upstart sport in UFC. You never know what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Even when it's so cut and dry, and you can almost predict what's going to happen. Sometimes something can happen, and you just never see it coming. So Edgar, I think, is going to lose. I think Pedro's going to be too much for him. I think he'll knock him out. I think he'll knock him out probably. I think early in round 2. I think early on in round 2. But
I was going to say round 2.
Yeah, because you got to slow him down first. Edgar's going to come out fast. It's more the way cut. He's going to be really a tricky to start with. I think Pedro's going to have to put on him, and then I see him catching him early on in the second round, just sleeping him.
I wonder whether Pedro's going to target his leg. If I was in the camp of Pedro, I'll be trying to target Frankie Edgar's legs. Obviously, Frankie Edgar's skill set is his crafty footwork and lively footwork. But he does stance. I call it an L stance. He does stance with his lead leg a little shallow, and I think in that weight division, where they're that quick, that leg's going to be a target. And once his footwork's been compromised, I think you'll see the high kicks and the hands coming into effect, landing on Edgar's head. And I worry for Edgar in this one. I really do.
Yeah, I like Pedro Munhoz. He's a bad man, as they say. And,
he's got intentions.
Underrated.
Yeah, big at the weight as well. Big at the weight.
Yeah, 100%. So that wraps us up for this evening. Mason, thank you very much for joining us, mate. Always enjoy having you on the show, pal.
Always a pleasure, and again, thanks for having me on. I'm sorry about the yawning. I came back late. I was still driving back at 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, so it was a late one. So,
sorry, mate. Danny's boring, I know, it's fine. I find myself yawning all the time when I speak to him. No,
I'm trying to hide it, because I'm like, I feel, to me, I can't think he's going to call me out, but no, thanks for having me on, and it's always brilliant to chat, especially with Dan. I mean, like, it's always, I seem to think you're really analytical what you do, and it's always a brilliant breakdown, so I do really enjoy them. And thanks again for inviting me on.
Top man, mate. We'll have you on again soon enough, Noah. And Danny, always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, it's great to be here with you, Si, as we are every week, and Mason as a guest. We've had you on before. Always enjoy it. You've got a lot to say, and nearly everything you say to me rings a good tune. So you're more than welcome to come on again whenever you have the time to do so.
Thank you, Danny.
Spot on. Next time with 2 belts.
100%.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the case.
I'll speak to you soon, mate. And guys, subscribe youtube.com/AcePodcastNation and follow the Danny Batten Show at Danny Batten FS on Twitter and Instagram. And we will see you next Wednesday. probably with another big name, big guest, I would imagine, because we're working hard on getting the old guests on. But we'll see you next week, guys. Cheers.
Defending champion, welcome, Danny Batten.